What's up, y'all? Episode 4. Man, we're 4 episodes deep. So glad you're here. And I'm really stoked about what we got cooking for the pod this morning. But first, major announcement for the committed podcast listeners only. The new merch collection for my album Seasons is online. I haven't told anybody about it yet. FulltimeDreamer.co. You can get a fresh new royal blue heather crew neck. It's a beautiful crew neck. Awesome design on the back. Consider the lilies. The signature Seasons hoodie, which is a forest green hoodie with one of my favorite scriptures on the back of it. Got the oxygen supply hat, which I'm rocking right now. I'll tell you more about that later. We got a whole fresh batch of roasted Dream Season coffee. It's a medium roast. It's delicious. It's we've upgraded the flavor profile since the last year. Go check it out, FulltimeDreamer.co. You can get all of your Connor Flanagan merch needs, and it's brand new. Record's not even out yet. More on that later. But the merch is up because we're selling it at our live show. So I wanted you guys to get it first before I even promote it online. So head on over to FulltimeDreamer.co to shop the collection. I just got back from Maine. We flew into Portland, Maine, had a couple shows this weekend, and man, it was so fun. I have to give a huge shout out to Elaine and Noel. They were a couple out there who hosted us 4 years ago. I played a festival, River Rock Music Festival, at Sunday River Resort and in Maine, in Bethel, Maine, and it was an awesome festival. And I met this family, and they were so hospitable and great, and just, getting to know us at this festival. And they did one of those, hey, if you're ever in the area or need anything, when you're in Maine next, let us know. And so turns out 4 years later, I get booked for a new festival, and it's a small budget. So they didn't really have a budget to put us up. Barely had enough to cover our travel. And so I was like, I reached out to them. I was like, hey, we really want to come play this festival, but we need kind of like some on the ground help. Like, could you house us? Could you feed us? Would you mind picking us up from the airport, driving us to the festival? And I didn't really know what I was asking. And Elaine and Noel were like, yeah, great. We would love to. And I was like, awesome. And, sure enough, the airport is an hour and a half from their house, which is an hour and a half from the festival site. I mean, it was just, we drove everywhere. They were so generous with their time, and money, and just giving to us and pouring into us and feeding us and housing us. And they just did it so freely. We were so blessed by their generosity. And they were like, hey, if you're coming in early, would you play a show on Friday night at our church before the show Saturday, the festival? And we were like, yes, absolutely. So we played a Friday night show last week at their church in Rumford, Maine. And if y'all were there, shout out, man, it was so fun. And I'm going to talk more about it later, but just quickly, I have to, and then, give a shout out to Elaine and Noel, and then Casey and Kelly, who were around for the whole weekend as well. They rocked the merch table, packing up merch, sorting merch, keeping the merch dry when it rained on us. You guys were just such a gift. And I mean, truly, Patrick and I were so blessed to spend time with y'all. So, if you guys are listening, thank you. And if anyone's listening who knows them out in Maine, give them a high five next time you see them. So, but today's episode, which ties into kind of what I was sharing about the main story, is generosity always wins. This is just a deeply held conviction of mine that generosity always wins, because it's a direct reflection on who God is. Like, God is a giver. God is a giver, and he cannot be outdone in generosity. He gives freely every single day to all of us. He gave his son, like the ultimate sacrifice. He gave his son for the sake of our salvation. John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only son for us. So at the heart of who we are as Christians, as followers of God, we are givers. If we're trying to model our life after God, we need to be givers, and we need to freely give, because nothing in this world is truly ours. Our money is not ours. Our time is not ours. This world is temporary. We don't know when we're going to come or go. The things that we work towards, our possessions, they're not ours, right? We have to hold it all so loosely. And so if we want to be more like God, we need to be more generous. I'm just so convicted of that. And I think that is applied in different ways to people in different seasons of life. So as I go through this podcast, like, take what I'm saying and apply it to where you're at in your life. Not everything that I share is going to be what you can do right now where you're at in life. I mean, I look at my life right now as an artist who's trying to make it and provide for my family. We can't be as generous as I would like to be, but that doesn't mean we can't be generous at all. And there's ways to compensate for that and give in other areas. So, but I've just seen this play out time and time and time again in my life of like God just being a giver and freely giving in so many circumstances, especially circumstances when I tend to hold on tight to what's in front of me and I try to control the outcome or control what I have. A couple of years ago, we were on the Skyscrapers tour. I have an EP out. It came out in 2018 called Skyscrapers, and we did a run of shows down through Texas. Sorry, I had to take a big sip of this Dream Season coffee. And we had a bunch of shows booked, and I was trying to add more. And since we were already in a city, I'm kind of like, if I'm already in a city, I just want to be in front of people. So if like there's other churches that want to have shows or schools or venues, like, let's just do it. Even if it's free, like, let's just play. So a friend of mine from college reached out who worked at a church down there, and she was like, hey, would you come and play at our church? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And I'm like, do you have any budget for this? And she's like, we could give you some gas money. I was like, great. So they gave us like literally they gave us $50 for gas, which is fine. So we were basically playing the show for free. And long story short, leading up to it, there was just a lot of back and forth, like a lot of logistical questions and things that I thought we were getting in the weeds on. And it became kind of like tense. And in my heart, I started to notice I was feeling entitled. Like, don't they know I was giving the show to them for free? Like, they should be better at this, or they should be, they should work harder to put this show on or whatever. I just noticed like, it wasn't like super explicit, but it was just starting to kind of grow this like sense of like, I'm deserving of something because I'm doing this for free, which is gross, but that's what was kind of happening in my heart at the time, especially. I didn't feel it then, but I'm looking back, I'm able to see it clearly now. And so we get to the venue. They decided to move the show inside because it was going to rain, a whole nother ordeal of logistical things that we had to work through. And then they're like, hey, we're going to do like a free will offering to collect money for you to help try to get you paid. And obviously you can sell merch. I was like, great. And, a free will offering for a musician is so hit or miss. You never know what you're going to get. It could be a ton of money. It could be no money. It's somewhere in between. And so we set everything up. My DJ and I we're sound checking. Doors open at 7. Show starts around 7:30. They open the doors and there's like not really anybody there. And everyone's like, oh man, maybe the rain scared people away, whatever. And I'm just really starting to get frustrated at this point of like, man, we said we play the show for free. Like, why didn't you guys do your part to promote it? And just like a total lack of charity on my part. And so I go backstage and I'm kind of talking with my DJ and we're trying to figure things out. And I'm just like trying to walk it off, like why I'm so frustrated. And I just had this moment. I had this like crazy moment with the Lord, where he said to me very specifically, he's like, Connor, you said you'd do this for free. Like you said you would do this for free, not just financially free, but like you have to be free in all of this. Like you have to be free in the way you love these people. You have to be free from expectation. You have to give this to them freely without any kind of, without any expectation on how they're going to do, right? How they host it, who they got there. Like, and it was just this like kind of like gut wrenching moment of like, oh my gosh, you're right. Like free for me can't just mean, I'm doing it for like no cost. Like if I'm going to say yes to an opportunity, if I'm going to say yes to a show for free, I have to mean free on every level. And so like God just kind of broke that open in my heart right before we took the stage. And I just like stood up and I took a huge deep breath and I was like, God, like, amen. Like, all right, like let's go give them the best show we can give them. And I was like freed of, speaking of free, I was like freed of the tension I was feeling in my heart and the lack of charity and the bitterness that was welling up over all these details. And I was just like, no, like this has to be a gift, like with nothing, no expectation in return. This whole show has to be a gift to this church. on every part of my heart. I can't be holding a grudge inside. And so we prayed into that, me and my DJ, before we took the stage. We were like, hey, like, this is awesome. Like, I can't believe we're here. Like, there was just a totally renewed vision for the show. And we walk out, and I'm not exaggerating. So from the time that I kind of had that moment with the Lord until the time we walked out on stage, there was like 40 minutes, because we waited to start the show a little bit to see if we get more people in the room. Well, we walked out around the curtain onto the stage, and the room was packed. And it was a small room, but I would say there's probably like 125 students, youth groups, youth leaders, all that. And it was packed. And I was like, what is happening right now? And the show was so lit. Like, it was so fun. We went all out. I sold a ton of merch, and I saw them walking around with buckets, these like big buckets with holes cut in the top on the lids to collect money for me. And so the show goes great. We end the night, and I'm counting up the money and the merch sales and everything. And I had made, in 125 people in middle of nowhere, Texas, I had sold about $2,000 worth of merch, and I had collected $900 in donations at the door. So I went from like $0 to 900 in donations and 2,000 at the door. 900 in donations and 2,000 in merch. So I'm like floored. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, God, this is like classic you. Like, you are not outdone in generosity. Like, here I was so worried about this and being bitter, and like you just lavishly poured out on us. And so show was great. We wrap up, we clean up, and they had offered to house us at a local member of the church's house, because they lived on this beautiful ranch. So we drive back to their house, middle of the woods. Felt like we were going to die, honestly. We were driving for so long down these bumpy roads in the woods, but then it opens up into this beautiful cattle ranch. And previously in the day, I had spent some time talking to this family about how every time I'm in a new city, I like to grab a bag of local coffee, just because I love to try the local coffee in town. Well, they were telling me there's no local coffee shops, and I was like, bummer. Oh, well. And so we wake up the next morning, and the mom of the family who was hosting us, she wasn't there. They said she had went out to run some errands. And so we were having coffee in the kitchen, packed up our bags, and then we all went out to breakfast with the leader of the church that we had played at the night before, and some of their volunteers, because then we were going to hit the road to head to the next city. And so we all go to breakfast, and we're having a great breakfast at a local spot in town. And the mom of the family who was hosting us rolls in for breakfast, and she had this like little brown paper bag, and she gave it to us. She's like, hey, don't open this now, open it in the car. And I was like, okay, great. So we said our goodbyes and thanked everybody, and we're on our way. And my DJ and I are just kind of sitting in the car like, man, this is crazy. Like, look what God did with this show and how cool it was. And so I opened the bag, and apparently she had driven like 20 minutes to the next town over to buy us a bag of coffee, because she wanted to like gift it to us. She heard me talking so much about how I love coffee, so she bought us a bag of coffee. And then there was a card, and in the card was a check for $1,500. And she said, I just want to support your mission. Like, I just want to support what you guys are doing. I believe in it so much. Thanks for hanging out with me and my family, and for coming to our church. And, I just want to support what you guys are doing. And I cried. I like literally cried. So I went from saying I'd play a show for $50 in gas money, and then being bitter about it because it wasn't going how I thought it should go, and being frustrated with the people organizing it. And then finally having a moment with the Lord where it's like, okay, Lord, I said free, so I need to mean free. And we were able to have an awesome show. And then, $900 at the door, $2,000 in merch sales, $1,500 check. Now we're north of $4,000 for one show, which is crazy. And I'm not counting expenses and all that in terms of the whole tour, but just for that night, like over 4K came in like that. And it was just a beautiful moment with God of like, you know what, God, you are never outdone in generosity. I can never outgive you. Whether I empty my wallet or I give, 23 hours of my 24-hour day to somebody, or if I house people in whatever it is, like, you are never outdone in generosity. And this show this weekend, right? We had this festival booked in Maine. And the family asked if we'd play, Elaine and Noel asked if we would play a show at their church the night before. And I said yes to it. It was going to be a free show because we were going to be in town anyways. And I was nervous about it because I was like, oh man, they have to get a specific sound system for us. And like, this is a tiny town in the middle of nowhere, Maine. Like, is anyone going to come out there? Is anyone going to know who I am? And there was a lot of back and forth, lots of back and forth through Facebook Messenger about what kind of sound system we need. Could they get it? Could they get a drum kit? All of this. And then we show up and Elaine and her husband are just so stoked that we're there. And they are like, the whole town's excited about this show. We got so many volunteers. We got this. And I'm like, okay, like, here we go. I'm not sure what to expect. We show up to the church venue and they decorated it. They had like free concessions. They had a whole place for our merch table to be set up. They had volunteers to run the merch table. They had, not only did they get a pretty good sound system, but they found someone in town who ran like a nonprofit theater organization to bring in some LED lighting. And so we could have some dynamic lighting during the show. And we start the show and there's like 100 people show up. 100 people show up to this show out of nowhere in this church basement, right? Not a flashy, big type of show environment. And it was everything it needed to be. We partied, we prayed together. They did a free will donation at the door again for this show. And I sold a ton of merch and we collected, I think, $600 or $700 in free will offering that night from just 100 people. And it was just such a beautiful, again, like it reminded me of that show back in Texas all those years ago of like, man, God can't be outdone in generosity. Like when we say yes to something, let it be our full yes on every sense of who we are, emotionally, spiritually, practically, physically, financially. Like when we say yes to something and make a commitment, especially if we say we're going to do it for free, then let it truly be free and see what God's going to do with it. And, for musicians, I think this is huge because, for me, my number one thing is for these songs to impact people. And so I just want to be in front of more people. And if that's paid or unpaid, it doesn't matter. I just want to be in front of more people to share my songs, especially this new album that I got cooking. Like I have never believed in a group of songs more than this next record coming out. But yeah, I just want to encourage y'all, God can't be outdone in generosity, and let your yes be yes. I have a lyric in an old song that says, I pray that my yes would be generous. And so when I say yes to something, that it would be a generous yes. It's not a yes with conditions. It's not a conditional yes. It's not, hey, yes, but you're going to have everything organized perfectly and doing it this way and that way and that way. Like, no, my yes should be generous because I know I serve a very, very, very generous God, and I want to model my life after who he is. So generosity always wins. Take that with you today. Apply it to your life. You may be generous and feel like you take a short-term L. Like it may feel like in the moment, dang, I needed that money for something else. Or dang, I didn't have time for that today. But I promise you, like I've said 10 times already on this podcast, God can't be outdone in generosity. So he will honor you. He will honor you with the gift of your time and treasure and talent. And I just want to finish with this one scripture. 2 Corinthians 9:6 says, whoever sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, and whoever sows generously will also reap generously. And this isn't about like a prosperity gospel type thing, or like if you give this much, you get this much back, but it's just a spiritual principle. What we give determines what we can receive. And like if you don't sow seeds as a farmer, you will have no crops that grow. Like it's just that easy. That's that simple. And so we are called to sow everywhere we go. Our talent, our time, our money. And we know because of who God is that where we sow, we will then reap fruit. So generosity always wins. Thanks for tuning in to episode 4. Episode 5 is going to have some fun updates because the record will be, episode 5. The record might be out we might have to do a special episode between 4 and 5 because I can't just drop a record without talking to you guys about it. So special episode coming mid-July to talk about the album. And get ready because I'm going to need y'all's help to promote it and share it. This podcast is small still, and y'all are my family, and so I'm going to need your help to get this record to the world. So stay tuned, And we'll see y'all in a couple weeks on a special Full-Time Dreamer episode to talk about my album. Peace.